Good afternoon. This is Steve Peck. I am the chair of the Douglas County Republican Party. We're trying something new here with social media and communication, where we're going to bring local content with local elected leaders. From today's guest, Mayor of Parker, Jeff Toberg. In the future, we'll invite district attorney, school board members from the DCSD. We'll talk to your local electeds here across Douglas County. And our hope is to get more engagement on local issues and hear from you. I'm here with the mayor of Parker, Jeff Toborg. He and I are trying out a new platform, a new communication vehicle to focus mostly on local things here in Douglas County. There are lots of platforms that exist that do a great job with national news, and what we're trying to do is provide local news for the residents of Douglas County. And in particular today, I'm excited to get a chance to talk to the mayor of Parker. So Jeff, as we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I don't know exactly what you had in mind if we're going to do this together in person. We're doing this remotely. And so this is our first foray into a new space. And I just appreciate your willingness to come on. I'm excited to hear from you and hear about what's happening in Parker.
Well, thanks, Steven. Congratulations on behalf of all of us in Douglas County. Congratulations on your election to the DC GOP chair. I know you're going to do really great things in that and take us to new levels where we should be, and that means winning, winning in all elections. So, and I'm excited to be in this platform with you as well, because, I think the more people we reach across different platforms, the days of, I think if COVID brought us a benefit, and that's a big if, but if it did, it brought us that ability to reach across electronically and meet, like we're in person. So I appreciate you taking advantage of that.
That's right. I'm wearing pajamas right now. But I don't know what you're in.
Yeah, like my kids say, just don't stand up in the shot, right? Don't stand up in the shot. But I get to do in the beginning of this what I love to do, and that's to brag about Parker. I love this town. We have an amazing town. We're growing by leaps and bounds, and not everyone's happy with that, but I think in the end everybody's happy with the results of what we're doing and really our conservative approach to growth here in Parker. So just by way of feedback, Parker was incorporated in 1981. 250 people got together over water issues and said, we're not going to have water here. They formed the Parker Water Department as well as incorporated. So now flash forward 43 or so years later, we're at about 67,000, steadily on our way to 100,000, probably by the end of the next 10 years. So a lot of growth over a 50-year period is going to happen. But, the thing about Parker and what I love to brag about is Parker is still that hometown. Parker is still the community that feels like it's 250 people, even though we're nearing the 70,000 mark. We are exploding with economic development opportunities all over. We have large corporations now that are looking at us as their home base or to expand their franchises. Notable, we're the first Trader Joe's ever in Douglas County. So Castle Rock, Lone Tree, that's on you guys to have lost it. We're also getting Whole Foods here, In-N-Out Burger is coming. And I think, people have their, divisiveness. Let's take a pause there on In-N-Out versus Whataburger versus, Steak and Shake, whatever you want. But I think that the important thing is these companies are realizing Parker is an economic driver, an economic force, and that's a really good indicator as we grow. We're also looking at expanding, like I said, our numbers probably closer up to 100,000 at build out. We've got the south and the west of us that are building out in as fast as they can. I think the economic slowdown, certainly inflation is causing that to slow down, so we can kind of take a little breath. But really people are flocking to Parker like never before and really trying to get in before it's all built out and closed up. to that end, we are looking at an economic development plan for Parker. We need to figure out, how to bring in those good daytime jobs. We need to figure out how to get the Lockheed Martins, Boeing, biomedicals, those things in there. So we're working on those plans right now to make sure it's not just all fast food franchises, et cetera. And we're focused on recreation, public works, roads, and certainly the pride of Parker, our police station and our police department, I should say. We have added now another 4 officers to the Parker Police Department. I think we're bringing that up to 81 sworn officers at our max. And I just have to say, God bless anyone willing to go into the law enforcement field now, and God bless anyone sticking with us. So we have long-term officers. We just retired Sergeant Joe Cummings last week, who had spent 25 plus years with the Parker PD. So we've got folks leaving and a great crew coming in. So when I look at Parker, if you look at kind of a state of the town, which shameless plug, May 23rd is a Parker State of the Town address. Parker is a community on the rise, but we are clinging, we are holding to that hometown that we all love very much. And we are a town that works together, supports each other, and we're not willing to give up. We're not willing to be a big city, even though our size numbers are indicating.
Yeah,
that.
well, that's I appreciate the update. And just to settle the score, it's not Whataburger or In-N-Out. It is definitely Fat Burger. And if you haven't been to a Fat Burger, you haven't lived life. There's one out in Aurora, and so if you're ever out by Buckley or the Air Force, the airport, it's worth a stop. But I am interested in before we get into some of the city business, some about who you are, Jeff, your family, your background prior to becoming. I mean, because most people don't say, "Hey, someday I want to be mayor," but here you are, right? As mayor of a city with 60,000 people, with all sorts of competing demands. How did you come into this, and how is your family factored into that?
Yep. I love to tell the story, Steve, because I've been doing this a very long time. Just shortly before I graduated high school, my grandmother and her friends came to me and said, the city is planning to bypass, to not put a new roof on the senior citizen center. So we think you should run for city council and get that roof put on for us. And if you've ever sat around 60 and 70 and 80-year-olds, they're very persuasive. And, we have some in the DC GOP that are very persuasive, and they don't take no for an answer. So I ran when I was 18. I ran when I was 20, finally got elected when I was 24 years old to the city council in my hometown in California. And it's been a life of public service. Wherever we've been, I've found my way through public service, whether it's a board, a commission, something. So when we finally landed on Parker as our forever home, I knew based on my experience and what I've done that that's where I wanted to go. So I ran for town council in 2016 and lost. Ran for 2018 and won as a council, and then ran for mayor in 2020.
So you ran for city council in Parker 2016. I'm trying to go back to that. So that was the cycle that Hillary Clinton was running against Trump and Cruz, and everything was going on there. I mean, when you went into that, what are some of the mechanics of running? Because again, most people aren't going to ever do this. Like, did you hire a consultant? Did you think like this is going to cost me some amount of money? Does city council even pay? Like, is that a paid position or is that a volunteer position?
Yeah, so the town council gets $1,000 a month, and I think the mayor gets $1,500 a month as a stipend, which is I think that we're probably the highest paid municipal elected leaders within Douglas County, with the exception of our county. But Castle Rock, Lone Tree, Castle Pines, not sure how much they get.
$1,000 a month.
But
so you're making a huge killing here, $12,000 a year.
I am. I had to convince my family to live on a lower scale so I could do this full. No, I obviously have a full-time job too. But the mechanics of it in Parker, you are elected, or you are electable. You're eligible if you've lived here for a year and you are over the age of 18 and a registered voter. So that's the requirements. And then you have to get 25 signatures on a petition, which is,
Okay.
pretty easy
And
to
to
do.
run for city council, I mean, how much does something like that cost a person?
I did my 2016 race. I think I did with $500, up to my mayor's race, which I spent 6,000 on. So not a lot. But Steve, I'm one of what you'll never hear most elected officials talk about. I love campaigning. I almost love the campaign more than I do the service. Although I'm blessed to be the mayor of Parker. I love the campaigning, and I think that's where people fall down. I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go hang tags, apologize to all the people whose dogs and ring doorbells I let off. But I loved getting out there, getting and talking, getting in front of the voters.
I,
Love every
I
minute of
totally
it.
understand
Love
that.
every
I love
minute.
campaigns too, and I've never run for a political office myself, although I've worked on tons and tons of campaigns as a volunteer and once for the National Republican Senatorial Committee. But campaigning's fun. It's a lot of fun. You get to get out there, hear from the public about what their concerns are, and where they'd like to see the city going, and then ask questions like the ones I'm asking, like, okay, how much control does, and this kind of like leads into the next question. You've got how many people on the city council in Parker?
We've got six council
Okay,
members and a
so
mayor.
is it a first among equals then kind of dynamic, or do you? What is the they? I mean, because they could have a 3-3 tie on an ordinance, and then you're the tiebreaker, or how does it? Okay,
Yep. And interestingly, that's the only time a mayor gets to vote is on in Parker is on a tiebreaker. I don't have a vote otherwise. So, and a lot of our stuff, when you're dealing with, zoning and municipal ordinances and resolutions, it's usually a 6-0 vote, right? When it gets to some hotly contested items, that's when we tend to see, a bit of a shift. But by and large, it's a property rights town, and our town council really believes in personal property rights. So if somebody has a plot of land, it's zoned for that, there's no reason to not grant it as long as it's
yeah,
an eligible
well,
zone.
that makes a great deal of sense. So when you were running the second time around, after again losing in 16 but then winning your council seat in 18, did you hear themes? I mean, when you knock on somebody's door and you say, hey, I want to run for city council, do you get people that want to talk to you about the national hot button issues of the day, and you're like, well, no, actually what I'm talking about is whether or not we get this Parker Trail approved, or is there a recognition that abortion probably isn't going to be decided at the local level?
Now, I will tell you, in 2018, that was a hot topic question for me, was abortion, and I was like, yep. And really, I think that the electorate here in Parker, is looking to understand what your political leaning is, political ideology is. And so asking questions like that. Obviously, the town of Parker has no governance over that topic of abortion. We're focused on open space, and we're focused on roads and recreational opportunities and entertainment at our Pace Center. But certainly those questions do come up, and I think as an elected official, or even jumping into the fray, you got to be willing to share your heart and where
Yeah, for
you're at
sure.
on
So
those issues.
when you think about your own political philosophy, not necessarily abortion or guns or taxes in particular, but when you think about what has formed your own political philosophy, what would you point to as formative either books or experiences, key opinion leaders?
Yep. Well, and Steve, I think you're way younger than I am, but I feel like I've had the benefit. Growing up, my formative years from 10 to 18, Ronald Reagan was on the TV every night, right? Or a story about Ronald Reagan, and that sense of pride that we had in our country, and really listening to him, following, watching, reading books on him, watching news stories. That's those formative years, right? I had the great fortune of growing up with a great communicator on every night. and really stabilizing that. But my family too. My family is very conservative. Um, and that's just really how I lean. Smaller government is best. The government that governs least governs best, and really, keeping the government out of people's lives. I always tend to think, as a mayor, I always feel a little bad for folks that come. They have a piece of property that they own, and they have to come get permission to build on it what they're already allowed to build on it, and they have to go through the rigors of inspections and stuff. I know it's in an effort to keep safe and quality and good stuff like that, but that just really kind of almost rails against really who I am internally, right? I'm about personal rights, personal property rights, and
Well, and
personal responsibility.
those property rights are foundational to economic freedom and prosperity. If without property rights, you have no capitalism. But it is an interesting tension, is it not? This is probably a conversation or a topic that will come up in other conversations that I have with people around the county. But in my own experience growing up as a Republican, and I was born in '83, so that puts me at 39. And I started reading a lot in high school and following some of the themes of the national discussion. But back in the early 2000s, the thought among Republicans was always you're pro-development, pro-business at any. It was kind of part of the oath that you took, the unofficial oath that you took to become a Republican. You have to be pro-business. Being pro-business means that you're for development. And while I'm still personally for development, I think about a county like ours that has now something like 350,000 people in the county, and it's growing very quickly. And now that I am a little bit older, it's not that I am anti-development. I'm certainly for development, and I'm excited that you've got businesses coming in. But what do you say to those people that are concerned about the changing of the county, the demographics, and the culture, what it means to be a part of a smaller community? Is it possible to have that small town feel with having the Lockheeds and the big businesses come in?
Yep, and Steve, that's a great question. I get that asked all the time, and my answer is simple: it's up to us. It is up to us. The political dynamics shift, but if and especially in the town of Parker, but really Douglas County as a whole, right? We're still that community that if you see someone pulled over and broken down by the side of the road, your tendency is to stop and to see if you can help, right? If you hear of a single mom who's in need of assistance, you're jumping in to help. We have our food banks, Parker Task Force, Grace Baptist. Our community jumps in to help on those. So really, it's very simple. It really is up to us. I don't think there's any big driving forces coming in to the town of Parker saying, you're going to shift this way. It really is. When we gather at Christmas time for the mayor's tree lighting, when we, are in there for 4th of July at Salisbury Park during the summertime, that's us celebrating our community. That's us celebrating each other as neighbors. And, if you leave the politics out of it, you're enjoying the benefits of living in this 22 square mile piece of heaven on earth. And, it really is about us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm already looking at the time. We're at 18 minutes. So I don't know how long these will go. We could probably talk for another 12, but just to kind of,
Steve, I'm a talker, right? I'm the dangerous one to start off with.
I have no problem talking too. So that's probably why we're already at 18 minutes. But if we were to tie this conversation up here, what's the best way? Like, if somebody wants to get more involved, if they want to go to a city council meeting, how often do you guys meet? Is it open to the public? And I'm sure it is, right? Is there public comment that they have to sign up for? If they want to get a hold of you, do they call, email, just knock on your door? What do you have to recommend? If they got a complaint, somebody's got a complaint out there.
Well, so here's my overarching thing, right? Is if you have a complaint, get it out. If you have a comment, if you have a great idea, get it out. And there's numerous ways. We do. We have a YouTube channel for Parker, which you can watch our live town council meetings on the first and third Mondays of the month. I'm jtoborg at parkeronline.org. Email me, stop by town hall, whatever. But the best place is the best advice is you got to get your idea out. Be heard. Be heard. Because, Steve, and this from what you're doing now with the DCGOP, folks have great ideas. Folks want to change. They want to be involved. They want to get involved. And then if they do nothing, then that just festers and stirs, and that creates way more havoc. Make it easy on yourself, people. Just get it out there.
Well, Mayor, I appreciate your time this morning. And if there's anybody that's watching, I hope that you'll reach out to Mayor Toborg, that you'll attend one of his meetings. I know you're very accessible, not intimidating, and I agree. What we need is more participation. Part of self-government is governing ourselves, and that means doing the hard work of community involvement. So just want to throw that up there to just generally speaking across the board. We need more people participating in local government.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for joining us. My name is Steve Peck. I'm the chair of the Douglas County Republican Party. You can join us online at dcgop.org. You can also find us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we are on Truth, and we are on Facebook. So the hope here is to do a weekly broadcast with some member of the elected community here in Douglas County, and to bring local news back to Douglas County. And so we're looking for participation and engagement from you. If you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.